Well, welcome back to the Heiden Level Up Leadership Podcast. It's episode 16. We're going, we're growing, we're getting better, we're leveling up every episode we jump on here. If you're listening right now, I want to encourage you at some point, drop a review, hit a star, hit a 5-star. We want to know how God is speaking to you, how you're leveling up in your leadership through this podcast. If you're on YouTube and you're engaging with us, consider hitting that subscribe button. We have an awesome leader in the building here today for episode 16. It's my guy, Pastor Marvin Mumford. What's up, family? Come on, you know what I'm saying?
Let's get it, baby.
Recently relocated to Las Vegas. New worship pastor at Walk Church, but a fantastic leader, and grateful to have you on the podcast. Grateful to level up together, learn from you on this session. And we're titling this podcast, Growing Pains.
Yes.
Not just going through pain,
but growing through pain.
Growing through pain.
Yes.
And I say that because we're in this season of growth.
Yeah.
That's the theme for this year. If you listen to episode 15, it's the focus of this season. And really, what does it mean to level up? It means you just keep growing.
Keep growing.
I love these definitions for the word grow. It's a verb. Oxford defines grow to become larger, greater, increase over a period of time. Webster's defines grow to develop to maturity, to spring up and develop to maturity. And that's what we're praying and hoping and wanting to see happen in all of our listeners, all of our viewers in our church, and those people who are watching and view. People from all around are leaning into this podcast. Praise God for that.
Super excited about that.
And they're leveling up in their growth. And so I know that's been a part of your story.
Right.
If I can just go ahead and say it, recently hit the 50 mark. Come on, praise God. I mean, you know, that's worthy of praise right there.
That's huge right there. I remember conversations with my dad and some of my friends, my teachers. Man, you're not even going to make it past 12, 16, 18, 25, you know. So to be at 50, getting ready to walk into 51 in November, it's tremendous for me. So, but again, that's through a lot of growing pains in that process of that. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be in this space that I'm in right now, though.
I love it. Yeah. Hey, one thing that we ask all of our contributors to the podcast is this first question. Tell us one area that you're leveling up in your leadership in this current season.
I think for me, leveling it up and growing in relationships and intentionality about being present.
Talk about that.
We had lunch the other day, and just one of those things that, you know, sometimes as a worship leader, sometimes as a pastor, or just in general, we get so involved with doing things and we miss out on being present in the moment and celebrating what God has done in that moment, or sitting in that moment. And so that's part of where I'm at now, trying to level up and grow in that area there, just being present in the moment, not allowing too many things to distract me, but leveling up in that. And then in relationships, it's very important as a leader to have several relationships that you're in. And I say it all the time, there's 3 relationships that I want to always be in. Relationship with a model, someone who is modeling what I am doing and at a level that probably I will never be able to reach, but I have something to reach for and to obtain. Then that mentor status, someone who's doing what I'm doing at the level that I'm doing it and can encourage me, build me up. And at some point I may even surpass what they are doing, but they're coming alongside me to walk with me in that.
That's good.
And then I get this from my dad. And then you got to have your man, you know, that person that's going to ride or die with you when you're up, when you're down. They're going to pray with you. They're going to challenge you. They're going to hear you yell, scream, and holler. They're still going to be there with you. And so in those 3 relationships, I think everybody should have those 3 relationships. But just trying to really level up in just relationships in general, and then being intentional about those 3 relationships, I think God will allow me to grow and develop as He wants me to in that process.
Yeah. I hear this phrase, relational intentionality.
That's very true.
Jeez.
That's it.
The 3 M's.
Yeah.
Model,
mentor, and your man.
I like
you gotta have your man.
You gotta have those 3.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good area to level up in, to grow in, and even just making me think, hey, do I got those 3 in my world presently? Because sometimes, you know, you can say like, yo, I had that. Yeah. And then you could think that's sufficient. Oh man, maybe in this season you had that, but what about right now? And that's the season of a growth now, right? It's like last podcast I talked about the parable of the sower, the seed, and the soil, where Jesus like 30, 60, 100-fold growth.
Right.
And maybe that could be the thing that leads to growth, is having the right model, the right mentor, the right person in your life to help take you further, help you go from the 30 to the 60 to the 100.
And that's the process of that as well, is that when you have the right folks in your life, they will challenge you to not be complacent.
Yeah.
I can be content, but not complacent. And so having the right people in your life, man, there's more that we can be doing. There's more that you should be doing. Or, hey, bro, pump your brakes on this.
Right.
I love this about God. He does multiplication by subtraction. He reduces some things in our life so that he can multiply some things that he wants us to see or wants us to be visible in those moments. And so having the right people in your life is like, hey, man, let's not do this right now. Okay, let's not do this. That would allow you to amplify this in your life. Or, hey, bro, let's do this instead of this, and those kind of things. And so it's crucial. God has blessed me with some incredible men in my life. And even the other week, you were doing one of your messages about the four, having the four in your life, those guys who were willing to cut the roof off somebody's house to get this guy before Jesus. And Jesus recognizes their faith. And many times in our lives, especially growing pains, bro, there's times that you don't want to grow. There's times that you don't want to do. You got to have the right people in your life that have that faith for you, will pull you along, that will, hey, let's get here. Hey, bro, let's get back to the word. Hey, bro, let's just pray. Hey, bro, hey, just be silent. Hey, bro, we got to get back to that right there. And so having those crucial people in your life, those crucial relationships in your life makes a world of a difference. Because every day you don't feel like you're saved. Every day you don't feel like, hey, I'm running for the Lord. I just don't. But having my boy in my life, having that model who will call me and say, hey, I haven't gotten this from you in a while. What's going on with you? And to refresh you and get your heart back in tune to where God is leading you is crucial.
Yeah, we were recently at one of our Send Network events here in Vegas. We called it Build X.
Oh man, it was beautiful.
It was so good. And we had, really two mentors in my world show up, Pastor Ed Litton and Pastor Russ Barksdale.
Right.
And I can't remember which one specifically they were talking about, the Monday meeting.
Right. Pastor not Litton, the other one.
Yeah, Pastor Russ.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Monday meeting. That was just so good. Just somebody you can meet with on a Monday. Define it. I know that resonated with you.
It does resonate with me because what's crazy is that I was just having a conversation with one of the young men who we have on the worship team. Like, hey, man, we got to have that person in our life where you can just call and you can just yell, you can just scream. He knows everything about you. You know everything about him, and he's not judging you, but he is calling you to a level and a standard. That's your man. That's what that is.
Yeah,
that Monday morning man. You got to have that in your life, bro.
So good.
I'm thankful that I have been that for some guys, and then I have some people in my life who have been that for me.
Great.
Because in ministry, we can get so consumed with things, man, and it can overwhelm us.
Right.
And as a leader, it's not easy to share with everybody. And to be honest with you, you can't share with everybody the things that you're facing and dealing with and the struggles that you have. So you have to have someone so that weight is not sitting on you, because what would happen, the enemy will isolate you. And then once he isolates you, there's no growing in that. Once he isolates you, there's not going to be any. Now, when God isolates you, he isolates you to examine you so that you can grow. So when Satan isolates you, he wants to stifle and cut off everything that's in your life. And so having that person in your life that you can call on that Monday morning and say, hey, bro, I blew it yesterday. Or, hey, bro, I blew it with my wife. Hey, bro, I blew it with my kids. Hey, bro, I am just out of it right now. Or, hey, bro, this is what's happening, what the joys are. And a lot of people think, when you have that person in your life, it's only the negative. No, man, I want them to celebrate everything in my life. You got to have that person that you can celebrate everywhere. That's the authenticity that you always talk about. I don't want nobody in my life that's fake. I want somebody that's in my life that's real, that knows me in every context of who I am, so that they know when I'm off. They can help me. They can walk with me. They can encourage me. They can be that. Yeah. So
I just think when it comes to growing, it's just so important. Yeah. And I think of like the difference between in a sports dynamic, like the difference between just going to the gym and just playing pickup, and sitting on the side and talking and dribbling around. compared to like somebody who's taking you somewhere, saying like, hey, let's just be strategic with the time we have at the gym. Let's work on our weaknesses. Let's actually practice things that could lead to the game, be effective. It's the difference, right? It's having the relationship, the mentor, the model, the man, or for the ladies leaning in, the woman. That's right. And you know, I think that's just so key that I think you model that well, and I'm grateful that you're talking about intentional relational growth, and this season is instrumental for you, and I think for anybody that's leaning in right now. Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit of your story. Yeah. I think your story, we titled this Growing Pains, from your early days growing up. Bring us into some of Marvin's story that leads to your level up leadership over time, right? It didn't just come out of nowhere, just like anybody. That's right. There's a lot of growing pains throughout it. So tell us a little bit about yours.
Man, as a little kid, you know, both my mother and father were ministers in the church. And on any given weekend, any given Saturday, we could wake up and there'd be people in our house. You know, my mom and dad were taking people who were, you know, got kicked out of the house or just was on the streets. They would take them in. We feed. My dad would work extra hours on his job so he could help the people in the community with his finances to help with their bills and stuff, do groceries at any given time. We just load the car, we just go give groceries to somebody. And so I saw that as a little kid, but then my parents got a divorce. And in our church setting at that point, the divorce word was like you were the worst person in the world. And so it was the church that I saw my parents exhibiting before the divorce that really made me angry with God. It was the church when they turned their back on my mom and dad as they were going through the most difficult time in their life. And the words and things that they were saying about my mom and dad would give everything for everybody. And then those same people were turned on my mom and dad and were criticizing and were calling names and things of that nature. And I was like, if this is what God is about, I don't want anything to do with God. I ran away from anything about God. But I knew at an early age, man, that I wanted to be in ministry just because I saw it modeled with my parents at the beginning. But I ran away from that, and I said, but I couldn't say that there was no God because I'd seen God just working. So I joined the Nation of Islam. And I tried to throw myself into that, and I wanted to make it my business to humiliate Christians. That was just a part of my life. I wanted to study and know everything about this, so that whenever I encountered a Christian, I could really just dismantle anything that they thought about their faith and their understanding of God. And God allowed me to walk through those kind of things to I say He allowed me to walk through those kind of things so I could get a better understanding and a better love to be able to communicate with the Muslims that I encounter now. There's a greater grace that He gave me in that process. Powerful. Even when I was not even trying to love on Him, He was still loving on me and taking that experience of what I was going through to now better allow me to grow and love people at a different level. And so I went through that phase of life, and a friend of mine, he contacted me. I was in college. I was a well-known musician. He contacted me, hey man, I need you to do this gig for me. And I was like, nah, bro. And he was at a church. He's like, nah, bro, I ain't going to your church. He's like, we're going to pay $450. I said, what time you need me to be there, bro? I'm there. I'm all the way there.
Let's do it.
And I was involved in a lot of things, and we don't have time to go through all those kind of things, but I was involved in a lot of things. I try to say it's as clean as possible. I was a pharmaceutical distributor.
Okay.
Try to shine it up a little bit.
I get what you mean.
But for those who don't understand, I was on the block, doing some things that I shouldn't have been doing.
Sure.
And he contacted me, and I went to his church, and we go through the full service. I do the music and all that stuff, and I'm trying to leave, and they have a guest speaker at the service. And at this church, they never have guest speakers. That's the very first thing. I've never seen that guy before, and I've never seen him since. He was a guest at that church, and I've contacted some of the people that were at that church back then. It's like, man, we've never seen that guy before. We've never seen him since then, So it was like a one-time thing that God just needed to have this guy. So he comes in, and as I'm getting ready to leave, he says, hey man, the Lord wants to say something to you. And I tell him, hey man, your God ain't got nothing to say to me. And he steps down off the pulpit, and he comes to me right in front of me, just like this right here. Now, mind you, I'm telling you, I'm in the streets. So I got my bass guitar on my back. I got a duffel bag or book bag on my back with 2 pounds of weed and a 45 in there. Because for lack of better words, some of the people that are at the church, those are some of the people that I am sharing my goods with, my product with. And so He comes down and he leans in. He pulls the microphone down. He leans in and he begins to tell me everything that happened about 3 nights prior to the service. 3 nights prior to the service, I get in a big situation that's just straight out of control. Wow. And he leans in and he begins to tell me everything that I'm saying to myself in the car as I'm leaving that situation. Wow. Now I know that there's nobody in this car with me because I got this old '84 Gremlin wagon stick shift, and I'm grinding gears trying to get out of this parking lot in the situation that I was in. But he's telling me everything that I'm saying without the explicits. And he says, but God wants to give you this. And he reminds me of some of the things as a little kid that I always said that I wanted to have. I wanted to have a wife with some children, and I just wanted to just serve the Lord. So good. Those were the 3 things that as a 6 and 7 year old kid, that's what I wanted. Before everything spiraled out of control. And it just gave me in a moment that, okay, God sees me in spite of everything. When I'm trying to be as disrespectful to him as possible in every kind of way, he still saw me in those moments. And in that moment on that Sunday, man, I just break down crying. I just surrender my life. And I said, I don't even know what this looks like. I'm telling him, I said, bro, I don't even know what this looked like, but I'll try. And from that moment, God took me from that moment of saying yes on that Sunday to a life of just growing in grace. I was involved with a young lady, and I come home and tell her we can't be together anymore. I call her brother. They pack up everything that I had in the apartment. I give her everything. I had just got a 190E Mercedes. I give everything away. And I'm in the apartment by myself, and my friend comes over that Monday, and he takes me to the Sign of the Fish. I don't know if y'all even had that store here, but that's a bookstore.
Like a Christian bookstore?
Yeah, Christian bookstore. And we go in there, and I lay $800 on the counter, and I say, ma'am, give me everything about God. So we got some buckets, and we're going around. That's when DVDs were just getting ready to get. So we got DVDs, videos, we got books, concordance, lexicons, all that kind of stuff. I think I have like $48 left, and I say, hey, I laid it back on the counter. I say, hey, y'all take it. I can't take this with me, because the money that I got was from a deal. And she was like, well, we can't take it. I said, well, just give it to somebody else. He takes me home. I'm in my apartment for like 2 weeks, just me and these books and things, man, just trying to grow, just trying to learn about God. And not what people had told me about God, but what I was able to, that he would able to encounter me in those moments with, bro. And it went from that to God just giving me opportunities to encounter great people who wanted to pour into my life, to get me to the stage of where I'm at right now, man. I'm just so thankful. Good. So thankful, bro.
Wow. Yeah. Praise the Lord. That's wild. From the pains of family. You know, you referenced your parents and the divorce and the challenge of that, to the pains of church pain, you know, the way that you saw that handled, to the pains of even switching faith as far as what you believed about God, and now you're part of the Nation of Islam, and you're in the streets, you're on the block, you're a pharmaceutical distributor, to put it mildly, and you're doing gig musician stuff, in the church, and it's loaded with pain. And it's layered, and it's got all this stuff. But even the seed that was back when you were, like you said, 6 and 7 years old, the seed of God's love, the seed of serving the Lord, the seed of there being a better future, a better day was still in you. And it's like that individual was at that church that day just began watering that seed from long ago. I've been thinking about this phrase recently, that God doesn't waste a thing.
He doesn't.
Come on, right?
He doesn't.
Like, even the things that were minor, minuscule to us, maybe it's even the prayers we used to pray, God doesn't waste them. And that's just a good God that he is.
He's a great guy.
So where does music come along? You know, you're a gifted worship pastor. Even at that moment, you're you know, still doing some stuff. Did you just grow a heart for? Man,
my family has been in music. My mom is an incredible singer. My mom's an incredible singer. My dad's an incredible front man. He's that guy. You give him a microphone, it's showtime. You know. So my family has always been involved in music all the way. And I went to school, went to college to study music. I wanted to be a music teacher. Wow. So I've always been involved in music. I was a well-known bass player, traveling the world, things of that nature. Wow. I just enjoyed just loving music and the desire in that. And when I did give my life to the Lord, I went on staff at a church and their youth ministry. The guy that was the youth director before, he was like, man, I don't want to be with these bad kids. That's what he labeled it, these bad kids. So the pastor was like, hey, Mumford, these kids respond to you. That's how he talked.
Mumford,
hey,
you're up.
Yeah. Hey, Mumford, these kids respond to you. Be my youth leader for a little bit till I find somebody. And but because I knew what my life was as a young kid, I fell in love with being a youth director, man. And I just poured my heart into it. But those kids, they didn't want to sing the songs that the adults were singing in their services.
Got it.
You know, because we did what we call Thursday Night Thunder. That's when wrestling was big back in the day.
Thursday Night Thunder, let's go.
Let's go, man. And so we had a facility and we would do our services on Thursday nights. Yeah. And they just wanted to do other songs. And so it was like, hey, you know, Minister Mumford, can you help us? Would you help us do some songs? So we begin to write songs. Yeah. And the guys used to tell me all the time, the musicians that I play with as a bass player, they used to tell me all the time, don't sing, bro. Because I couldn't sing. I really couldn't sing.
Wow.
One guy would tell me, you're tone deaf, bro. You're just horrible. You cannot sing. But we'd be on a gig and I'd be playing and I'm singing the songs that the people are singing, you know, on a show. And in an arena or a big area, everybody can't hear you. Right. But the other musicians can hear you because we're right there. And he's like, bros, don't sing. But when I was with those kids, I prayed this prayer, Lord, would you help me to help these kids? And so we would write songs and we would sing them. And then we go over to the main sanctuary and do youth services back then. Every fifth Sunday was a youth service. And so we do those songs and God just began to honor me in that opportunity to just lead worship with the kids. And then they were like, hey man, can you come over and lead worship with the adults and blah, blah, blah. And it just went from that to just a life of just wanting to just serve God as a worship leader, man. I'll never forget this. I saw Michael W. Smith. I was working at the Raleigh Amphitheater. And it was just him. It was pouring rain and 24,000 people out there. 5,000 are under pavilion. The other one on the grass, and it's pouring down raining. Wow. And he's on the stage with a piano. And he's singing, "This is the air I breathe," and everybody's just crying and singing and worshiping. And I'm standing out there, and I'm a new believer, and I'm like, God, I would love to be able to do that right there. Wow. And he just blessed me in that opportunity. I had the opportunity to meet Michael W. Smith, open for him, and him encouraging me, man. I got a picture that I keep with me of him just holding me and just praying with me, man, about that moment, bro. Incredible. And so God has just blessed me in that opportunity to be able to do it, man. But again, it's been through growing. Yeah, sure. Making a lot of mistakes, of being around a lot of people, of hearing a lot of no's, and you can't do this, and you shouldn't do this, and things of that nature. Wow. And it was to the point. One pastor told me, he says, "Man, I hired you to be Marvin. I didn't hire you to be this guy or that guy. So if you can't be Marvin, then." I don't need you to be here. Wow. And that changed the scope because I was trying to be something that I wasn't. Right. And in those growing pains, bro, you know, God just sent great people in my life to minister to me, to help me grow.
Yeah, you even grow into who you are. Yeah. You know, you even learn, you're learning even about yourself along the journey. In the season of growth. You know, recently you were in a difficult car accident. You know, that kind of shook up things in your life. Man, and crazy. Even I think you're still learning that God had so much more in store, even through the pain. Right. Talk to us about what happened there and just some of what you've learned through that.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? This week will be the 1 year anniversary of that car accident. You know,
that's wild.
And I was at a stoplight, getting ready to go to work, and I'm pulling up, and there's a truck in front of me, and he's getting ready to make a left turn, and so I slow up, you know, just so I don't hit him, and I just happen to glance up, and I see this car just going full speed. I mean, the guy's on his phone, he's going full speed, and he doesn't stop, and I don't have time to actually brace myself, but I grab the wheel here, and he slams directly in back of me, man, and I bust my head over the steering wheel, and it just knocks me out. You know, probably maybe 2 minutes later, I'm coming to, and the guy's banging on my window, and he's on his phone, and that's how I remember. He's on his phone, and he's talking to his girlfriend. He's like, I don't know. His tongue is hanging out his mouth. I don't know if he's okay. His tongue is hanging out. And I hear him say that, and I'm trying to get myself together, and I'm on the phone with my homeboy, my man. I'm on the phone with him, and the phone is all the way in the back of the car now, and I could hear him yelling, "Are you all right? Okay." And I'm trying to get myself together, and I'm telling the guy, I'm okay. And then I go back out again, and then when I come back up awake again, the paramedics are there, and they're trying to get me out of the car and all this kind of stuff, man. And I have a real bad concussion, and messed me up really bad, messed up my back, and my legs are numb, and so I have to learn how to walk again. and learn how to talk again, because nothing's registering to me. So I can't, and so I'm trying to talk, and I just, that's what it's like. And so I can't communicate, words. And so my wife and
coming up on the 1 year.
Coming up on the 1 year.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it's just crazy, and I was part-time on staff helping out a church, and through that process, things change where I can't get back to the job, and so we just make that change. And so I'm in the pace of, okay, God, what are we going to do now? I can't take care of my family. I don't know what to do right now, Lord. What are we going to do in this space right here? And so I have to learn and grow in a whole lot of different ways now that I didn't know. And I'm thankful that the folks that came alongside us and supported us and prayed with us and just said, hey, man, let us help you with this right here. Hey, bro, we love you. We know what you've done in our life, bro. Let's just be a blessing to you and your family in this, man. And so some people just came along and provided some meals for us. Literally, me and my wife were in the car from morning until evening every day for almost 3 months, almost 4 months, going to different doctor's appointments, going to therapy, and then picking up my son who was in sports and stuff like that. So we leave early in the morning, and then we're not getting home till in the evening, 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and we're exhausted. And then when I do get home, I'm a vegetable. I'm on like 8 different medicines, dealing with the pain, the headaches, the blurriness, the confusion, and all that. They got 8 different medicines at 8 different times, man. And so, but God was mindful of me and my family. And then I get a phone call from Dr. Heiden here saying, "Hey, man, come
not
on."
doctor. I don't want anybody to call me out. They're like, you're not a doctor.
Hey, in the streets, so we say, "Hey, Doc, what's up?"
I'll take Doc.
Yeah. And just call and say, hey, man, can you come out and just hang out with us a little bit and do a little bit of life with us? And my very first weekend out here with you was my very first weekend of going back on a stage or being in front of anybody. And I was in the hotel with my wife, and I'm freaking out and almost in tears, like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm panicking in the hotel on Friday night because we got to come here with you guys, man. And I don't even know if I'll be able to stand, if I'll be able to communicate, and all these other kind of things, man.
How about it?
And we get here with you guys, man, and your folks are just such an incredible group, man. We walked in and they just began to love on us, and God just began to just open up our hearts for that night and that weekend. It was a glorious weekend, bro. Good. So it was a blessing, bro.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's been 1 year, bro. 1 year when my life was changed.
Incredible. Yeah, it was in that season that for me, I was praying, kind of growing pains throughout our ministry journey. Right. We just celebrated 8 years as a church. And, one thing that I was praying about is just that God would connect me and our church with the right partner in ministry in the area of worship. And somebody who is a pastor, somebody who has growing pains, somebody who's more experienced, and that can help us build this culture of worship in our church, in our city, a kingdom leader. And one day it just, what's up with that cat, Pastor Marvin, who I had done ministry alongside in FCA, Fellowship Christian Athletes.
Shout out to the FCA, bro.
Shout out to FCA, Kutztown FCA camp. That's where I met Pastor Marv and his family, just rocking out there. And I really felt led by the Lord to reach out and just see what was going on. And the rest is history. God just began to kind of... I love that phrase. If you show up, you'll grow up.
That's it.
We just took the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, and that God just began to move some of the fog out of the way, started to clarify that He was in this thing.
That's right.
And praise God for the Mumfords moving to Las Vegas.
We're here, baby. We're in Vegas,
even through that, there's been warfare.
Oh, man, it's crazy, bro. But the thing about it is that my son, Micah, he shared this with my wife. He says, God is not just the God of Georgia, which allowed us the opportunity to be open to even coming to Vegas.
So good.
And in that, once we decided, hey, Pastor Heiden, we're going to make that move with you. The enemy understood that, hey, man, if I can deter them and distract them with all these other kind of things, maybe they won't go to Vegas and they won't grow into what God is trying to do there, and be able to do what God has called them to do. And so it was a tremendous fight. Even as we got here, bro, as you know, in the church knows, it was a tremendous fight in a lot of things. things.
Yeah.
And it's not over. We don't think that any kind of way that the enemy's just going to lay it down just because we're here.
No,
not in any kind of way. But the process of that was, and I told you from the beginning, we need to just get there.
Right.
And once we get there, we'll let God take care of everything else,
Yeah.
man. And he has done that. He has been faithful in those things, man.
Incredible.
And so we're super excited to be here with the Walk Church family and what God is doing, man. Even last night, we were in rehearsal last night.
So good.
I was telling Pastor Mike this. I try to encourage our worship team and worship leaders in general that your rehearsal shouldn't just be a time where you're just going through things. It should be a glimpse of a worshipful moment that you would have on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And last night we had that, man. It was just so sweet.
So
a time
good.
of prayer,
Wow.
of worship, man. They didn't want to leave last night, man. I literally said, hey guys, we got to go last night.
Go.
But we were in that moment, and those are moments of growth for us as a team, to them to recognize the movement of what God is and being open to that, man. And so I'm just thankful that we're in that season of growth, and that our team and our body of Christ at Walk Church is willing to grow in those moments, man. So
amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
we're super excited.
I'm glad that you had the faith to say yes and to trust God.
At 50.
At 50, he had more in store.
He had more in store.
So like your shirt, but God.
Amen. Romans 5:8, man. This is how I live my life, but God. Those
So
two
good.
words change everything. Those two words change everything. It changed everything for me, man.
Yeah. As we close, we'd love for you to just take a moment and talk to somebody specific. Talk to everybody,
Right.
but maybe God would even use this word for somebody. Even look into this camera here in a sec, and maybe minister to the person who's going through pain.
Right.
Maybe remind them you're actually growing through pain.
Right.
And what would you tell that person who's on the other side of this podcast?
The scripture says, yea, though I walk through the valley and the shadows of death.
Wow.
And so as you're going through this, that lets me know that that's not the end point for you, but that God has more. The enemy understands that as well, is that if I can stop you, if I can stifle your growth, then I can stifle you from understanding who God has called you to be.
Wow.
And so today, for you who are stuck in that situation where you're fighting those growing pains, you're fighting those pains of family, you're fighting those pains of a job, you're fighting those pains of fighting inside of yourself, I would that you would just lean in a little bit more and allow God to walk you through that process, because he will never leave you. He will never forsake you. He was always there, even as we're going through that. Matter of fact, even the more I think about Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys who were in the fire.
Right.
And King Nebuchadnezzar comes and says, hey, I see 4 people in there. That lets me know that God is always with me, even in the midst of my most craziest time. He is with me even the more. And he's going to shine so that someone else can see him through me as I go through this process. So be encouraged.
So good.
God is mindful of you as you grow through these pains that you're going through.
Fire. I love that right there. Such a good word. Good word for me to hear. Hopefully a good word for you to hear. Once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Episode 16
Let's
of
go.
the Level Up Leadership Podcast. Just go ahead and say, let's grow.
Let's grow.
We're growing together, and hope you have a great day. We'll talk soon. Peace.